I remember in New York, I used to buy some records that I couldn't find anywhere else. But now they're all, most of them all available on the internet. You can hear all this music. Of course, it's not the same quality maybe as
Right.
LP, but at least you can hear the music.
Right. Yeah, that's the streaming is good for that. But if I like a record, I'll buy it.
Of course.
And the thing I don't like about streaming is people they think music is free, and it's the artists aren't getting paid very much for the streaming unless you're Taylor Swift or one of these big artists that are getting millions of streams. Then they make some money, but the average jazz musician's not going to make anything. I mean, you might get if you're lucky, $5 a month or something off your streaming.
I still don't understand this whole idea of how people, why people buying. I mean, like a lots of records, lots of my records from Venus, they on the Spotify. Not all, but quite a few. So I'm wondering if people can hear them for free, or almost for free. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, you pay
there's some
$10 a month and you
there's
can.
some nominal payment for, but it's very cheap to thinking, considering the amount of music you can listen to. I'm wondering why people would spend money if they can hear it for free,
Well, that's the
and yet,
problem.
and yet record companies go for that. I mean, my former record company, Savanos, they didn't agree to any of that. They don't even sell on Amazon. So yeah, so they are selling to their own audiences. But I'm always surprised at that.
Yeah, there's still people. Well, over the last 15 years or so, vinyl has come back. People are starting to buy it again.
Yes.
And you can make money on it. A lot of these companies are only making limited amount, like a limited pressing. So some of these companies are making 300 of them or 500 of them, and once they're sold, they've made a little bit of money and they're done. A lot of them are doing that. But
I
if you
don't
don't,
understand. Yeah,
yeah,
I don't understand the business part of it, but I guess they're doing okay because Venus still they still recording and they still want me to record more, so they I guess they're not losing money at least.
yeah. I mean, it probably cost them maybe I don't know. It might cost them $7 to make this, and then of course, but that doesn't include the production part. Everybody forgets about the production side of how much it costs to pay the artists and the studio time and all that goes into the
Well,
amount.
my records are my records are cheap. My records kind of reasonable. I do it quite
Right, you
fast.
do yours quick and you're in and out.
Yeah, yeah. My and uh, studio doesn't cost that much in Sweden.
Right.
In New York also they have several studios where lots of jazz musicians record, which doesn't require that much money.
Yeah. So by the end of the day, maybe they got $10 invested in each record and they sell them for 30 and they make $20 a record and then whatever they have to pay back out to you or to the musicians or
Well,
whatever.
in Japanese market, I've done okay because Japanese they like to buy. They're still buying records. They're
Right.
not streaming as much. They love to have records, and as I mentioned, they love to have records and they have autographs, which is a big part when you go there and tour. They want you to sign and meet, and so that is something you cannot get streaming.
Right.
Yeah, it's a it's a thing. Like like this record behind you. It's a concrete thing. You own it. It's
Right.
a you, it's nice design. You look at it. I used to love having LPs. Listen to it and turn around and look for read liner notes and stuff like this. That's the whole experience that you cannot get from streaming.
Right.
Lots of people that are listening digitally listening to music, they don't even know most of the time who's playing on record. I mean, they
Right.
know the leader's name, but they have no idea who's in the band. If you ask them, lots of even music students, if you ask them who is playing on that record, they have no idea.
Right. Yeah, there's I always looked at it as a kind of a buy-in. In other words, you kind of participate in that artist. It's a personal thing too. You buy the record and you feel like you're part of the, part of the band in a sense.
And there's a story that you can relate to on the on the album, particularly in old time and like Blue Notes and stuff like this, where knowledgeable people would write about the tunes and how they came about. And also that's the way I got into jazz. You have 1, 2 records, you listen and you look at the names, and then the names give you a clue to the next record, and then
Right.
that's how you know more about jazz community, and then you say, oh, I know this guy, he's on a so and so record, and I want to hear him on this record. So it goes, it's like a chain reaction.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I knew about, like, for example, Ron Carter. Some of my first albums, almost all of them had Ron Carter on bass.
You saw a lot of records.
I had like some of my first albums. I had like Bobby Timmons trio, live trio at the Vanguard. Bobby Timmons trio in person.
Yeah. I don't know that
So
record. I know Bobby Timmons, but I don't know that record.
that record is fantastic. With Ron and Tucci Heath, and I was lucky to play with both of them. And so that Sonny Rollins record, Now's the Time.
Oh, I love that
Ron
album.
Ron was on that then. Cecil Payne, A Connection. Ron was on that again with Duke Jordan and Clark Terry and Charlie Persip, also the drummer that I used to play in New York with. So I was so lucky to still be able to play with those guys. Of course, some Miles records, some other things. Ron was on a lot of this, and Bob Crenshaw, so also my partner in New York. He was on a lot of those things too. So, that's how it goes from one record to another. But now there's so many records and so many guys playing, you cannot possibly keep track of everybody who is playing.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Keep seeing new names. I just looked at the pro. They send me all the time, Smalls and Mesro clubs in New York. They send me a list of people playing. I hardly know any of them.
Yeah, I've been trying to do more of the reviews of new records. There's a lot of good ones, I think, but and a lot of people I'm discovering that have been around for a while that I really didn't even. They've been around for 20, 30 years, some of these guys, and I hadn't heard of them. And I was like, wow, okay. And I started seeing them on a lot of different records. In fact, I did this. These guys I pretty much knew about, but this album I just reviewed is a live record, and this is fantastic.
Yes, I know all of these guys.
Michael Adon, I mean,
I know all of these guys.
very good. I really enjoyed this. This is a really intense record, and yeah, you got Eric Alexander, of course, who's
Yeah, I know. All those guys, they came to New York around the same,
yeah, the trumpeter Jeremy Pelt. You know who else is?
not personally, but I know, of course,
Yeah,
I know.
Alexander Claffey on the bass. He's
He
played
he's a newer guy. He might.
newer guy. Very good though.
I know. He plays with everybody. I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually when I was talking with Gerald Clayton, he was one of his students.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Lots of students are taking over now.
Yeah, well, someone's got to pass. Someone's got to carry the tradition on, right?
True. That's very true. Very true. Those guys can play. They all can play. But Michael Adon was in New York at the same time I was, so I remember him very well. Eric Alexander, he came later on. He was studying with George Coleman. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
very
played-
talented.
Yeah. Oh no, he's one of the best now.
Yeah,
Lots of people that were just the newcomers at that time when I was in New York. Now they are the cats.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. The older I get, and I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's pretty new. And it was like, they started 30 years, 20 years ago. And I was like, back when I was in my 30s, and now it's 20 years later, and I'm like, wow, it's already been 20 years.
Well, if I go back to New York, I'd be new.
Yeah,
Not really, because there are still lots of people that remember me from my old days, But more people than I realized, because at the time I was playing, lots of people were just coming into town. They were going to Bradley's or Blue Note or whatever where I was playing, and that was some of the first things that they experienced in New York. Because I usually had some great guys in the rhythm section. If I played trio, or sometimes some horn players that were like Junior Cook and people like this, Pepper Adams or Tom Harrell, people like this. So and the rhythm section was always great. I would always have Buster, Billy Hart, Cecil McBee, Idris Muhammad, people like this that played with me. So that would attract certain newer audiences. And
yeah, yeah,
I don't remember anymore, but they would remember me.
yeah. Another one I did only a few years ago I discovered was Chris Potter. He's been playing for a long time too, and
Oh
he's
yeah, he was.
unbelievable.
I played with him when I played with him when he just was appearing. Was just he was playing alto actually in the beginning. I remember. He also could play the piano. I remember I went to a restaurant called Zeno's. He played with Michael Moore, and I sat in with them and played. I had some gigs with him too, but he was just beginning to play at the time.
Yeah,
He's very talented, of course.